So my name is Julio Acosta. Everyone across Texas and really every progressive across the U.S. needs to know about Progress Texas and support Progress Texas in any way that they can. It's one of the two podcasts that I listen to every Monday through Friday. Y'all keep us aware of anything that a progressive in Texas needs to know. At the end of the day, we just need to do everything we can for us to live lives where we all thrive.
It's Tuesday, December 30th, 2025, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. This being the last Daily Dispatch of 2025 seems a good time to run through a few of the new laws that our MAGA-dominated state legislature and their infinite wisdom have chosen to impose on Texas beginning this New Year's Day on Thursday. All of this sourced from KUT and Fox 7 in Austin, KHOU TV in Houston, and KERA Radio in Dallas. We've talked a lot this year about the increasingly blurry line between local law enforcement and border and immigration enforcement, what each does and who pays for it, in particular with our friend Francesca D'Annunzio of the Texas Observer, who's been watching this for a couple of years now. Well, Senate Bill 8, starting Thursday, dictates that sheriff's offices in Texas that have jails will be required by state law to enter into 287G agreements with ICE, under which local jailers will be trained and deputized by the federal government to perform certain functions of immigration officers, such as checking the immigration status of everyone booked into their jails and issuing administrative warrants. Groups including the ACLU of Texas have warned that first, this is an unfunded mandate of sorts. They expect grant programs designed to pay for the extra local man hours to be unlikely to cover those expenses. And more importantly, this new law is likely to exacerbate existing problems in regard to over-policing and racial discrimination. Sarah Cruz, policy and advocacy strategist for the ACLU, says the measure, quote, will not make our communities safer, but it will force sheriffs to do the work of ICE in support of the federal government's shameful mass deportation efforts, unquote. It can also be seen as a recent state move against sanctuary cities alongside Governor Greg Abbott's recent push to establish a state-level prosecutor with power to override local DAs. That's a story we're following into the new year. We've also talked a lot about SB 38 with our friends at the Dallas Eviction Advocacy Center, who rallied hard during the regular session against language in that bill that would have made it a lot easier for Texas renters to be kicked out of their homes by their landlords. That resistance did pay off as a lot of the loose and dangerous language was eventually taken out of the bill, but SB 38, starting Thursday, does renters no favors. It allows a summary judgment process under which your landlord can ask the court to let them evict you without a trial, and places additional perjury jeopardy on tenants who dare to resist in court. If you rent in Texas, the rules will change significantly this week. It's worth looking into SB 38 to understand how your rights in Texas have been eroded. Another new state law that was supposed to kick in Texas with the new year won't just yet, as it's been temporarily blocked by a federal judge. This is Senate Bill 2420. Also known as the App Store Accountability Act. It would require app stores and app developers operating in Texas to verify the ages of users and obtain parental consent before minors could download apps or make in-app purchases. In October, the Computer and Communications Industry Association sued the state, arguing that SB 2420 unlawfully restricts speech, and U.S. District Judge Robert Pittman agreed last week. He ruled that parts of the measure are unconstitutionally vague and likely violate the First Amendment. Supporters of the law have said the intent is to protect children online. Critics, however, have argued that it violates free speech. SB 2420 also becomes one of the first stories we'll be tracking into 2026. Also, real quick, thought I'd look back on the old year with a rundown of Progress Texas's 5 most popular individual episodes of 2025. As you know, we publish prolifically around here, but the 5 pods that you guys really grabbed onto this year were as follows. Number 5 was a rare single-issue daily dispatch, and the first after the July 4th flood that following Monday. At the time, the death toll had risen to 80, but would eventually rise to about 137 people who lost their lives in that tragic natural disaster, though one that could have been much less tragic under more responsible and competent leadership, policy, and planning at the national, state, and local levels, a failure that should remain top of mind as we move into the 2026 election year. Number 4 was all the way back in January, published on the very first day of the 2025 regular legislative session, part of a preview series with several Texas state Democratic lawmakers, and we think indicative of his rise at that time as State Rep James Tallarico joined us to rally the troops for what would end up a very rough legislative year for progressives, but also one in which a great many Texans began to wake up to what Governor Abbott and his party are up to. Number 3 came in mid-June, our in-progress roundtable discussion of that weekend's No Kings rally, which of course ended up the first of 2. Everybody was pretty nervous about how it was going to go down, and for good reason, but we couldn't have predicted how nationally massive and very much peaceful and successful that first No Kings Saturday would end up being. Number 2 was in late July, our presentation of the huge People versus the Power Grab rally in Austin, hosted by Powered by People, which featured a bunch of Texans who have been major players in political developments in Texas since, including both Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and State Rep James Tallarico, both now running for the U.S. Senate, and State Rep Gina Hinojosa, who is now polling way out front for the Democratic nomination for Texas governor. There were lots of calls during that rally for a Democratic quorum break, which, as we know, did happen just a few weeks later, leading to national resistance to Donald Trump's attempt to consolidate GOP power through aggressive redistricting. And our number 1 most heard podcast of 2025 back in September, we sat down with new Texas Democratic Party Chair Kendall Scudder to address internal turmoil that appeared to be developing over the party's relocation of their headquarters from Austin to Dallas. We're now 3 months past that episode and have as yet received no takers from our invitation to the unnamed sources criticizing that move to join us to voice their concerns. All of those, of course, are still up on this podcast feed and a fun look back as we get ready for an all-important midterm year. We're excited for the work ahead, especially because we'll be doing it in partnership with you. On behalf of everybody here at Progress Texas, please do receive our gratitude for your support and our wishes for a healthy, happy, prosperous, and progressive new year for you and yours. Our mission at Progress Texas is to counter the billionaire and corporate-funded conservative disinformation machine, and we rely largely on listener support to keep doing what we do. While we enjoy the support of hundreds of partners, chances are that you, dear listener, haven't joined the team yet. If you're a regular, let's get you on board right now. Huge thanks to monthly supporters Carrie White, and Catherine Shuddy, and David Santucci. We appreciate all of you very, very much. Join them and the team now at ProgressTexas.org. And over the New Year's break, while you're at the website, be sure and grab the merch to match your progressive values for the brand new year at our web store, including our newly expanded Humans Against Greg Abbott collection of tees, stickers, and yard signs. Greg's got to go in 2026, so let's go, y'all. All of that and lots more at ProgressTexas.org. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Tuesday, December 30th, 2025. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Progress Texas is a nonprofit rapid response media organization promoting progressive messages and actions. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks for listening. Happy New Year. Watch for In Progress to hit this feed on Friday, and we'll see you back for another Daily Dispatch on Monday, January 5th.